What do you do for work?
I own this business, and then I also do some real estate as well.
What do you do? You got your real estate license?
I do not. No, we manage. My dad has commercial properties, so I help him with management of that.
Okay.
I dabble in a lot of things. This is probably my primary income as far as that goes.
Okay, I got you. And how long did you say that you've had this here?
We moved here in June of last year, I believe it was.
How about in your residence? Electronics there?
Electronics? What do you mean by that?
Like computers, phones, other phones, anything like that?
I mean, my wife has a phone. Mm-hmm.
Hey everyone, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It's Tuesday, April 19th. I'm ready for spring. I don't know where you are, but where I am, it's been cold. And I'm still stuck inside, and I am ready to get outside. And I'm tired because it's been snowing for like 9 months. So if you are in the world where it still snows and it's cold, raise your hand. And if you're feeling very cooped up and ready to get going and doing something fun, leave me some comments below and tell me what you're looking forward to this spring. Now, this is going to be a very busy week because recently the transcripts were released for Josh Duggar's trial. For many of you, some of the information that we're going to go over is going to be stuff we talked about back in December. The difference here is that with this new stuff that we're going to be talking about, we actually have transcripts from trial. Now, transcripts from trial are what is recorded by what's called a court reporter, and that reporter is dictating everything that's happening in court on the record between witnesses, attorneys, and the judge. So during this, there's also some conversations that take place behind chambers or in chambers between the attorneys and the judge. Now, there's also testimony that we heard about, but we didn't actually didn't get to hear it because people were in court, but there was no cameras allowed. There's been some people in comments that have been concerned, stating they felt like there was something going on because there was no cameras allowed in the courtroom. Federal court has completely different rules, but just because cameras are not allowed does not mean that you're not getting a report of what actually happens in court. That's where court reporters come in, and that's where transcripts come from. The only thing that we're not going to be able to see are the exhibits in which they were talking about in the testimony, simply because the exhibits contain content in which we don't get access to of the public because of the sensitivity of nature of what they were looking at. Some exhibits have already been released by the Daily Mail, but for today, we're not going to be talking about any exhibits that you're going to physically be able to see. So today's video is we're going to talk about something that was a huge part of the trial, and it related to a program that was on Josh Duggar's computer called Covenant Eyes. Covenant Eyes is a website that is used, and it's a software that you use that is put on your computer, and it essentially takes it looks at your computer, what you're browsing at, what you're looking at, and it sends a report to a accountability partner. And that accountability partner would tell you, hey, I saw that you were looking at this is wrong. And based on the software, it can also block you from going to specific websites. It can block you from accessing different pages. It can block you from downloading specific apps. So it's a way to sort of control what is being viewed on the computer and to ensure that what is being viewed is, matches whatever they shouldn't be looking at. Now, the primary reason people use this program, and it's highly used within the world of the fundamentalist world that Josh Duggar grew up in, is because they don't want men looking at adult content. So Josh had publicly stated years ago that he had an issue with adult content online, and that because of that, he was going to get help. So one of the factors of the case was that they couldn't bring up Josh's problem with looking at this stuff online. But they were able to talk about how they had this program on his computer installed. They weren't able to give a backstory for why it was installed, but they were able to say, this is what is on the computer, and this is what the computer is monitoring, and then it's going to send an email to someone, and then that someone can help that person be accountable for what they've looked at. In Josh's case, during the testimony of William Fottrell, an expert who was the second analysis of the forensics for the case, he talks about Covenant Eyes and how Covenant Eyes had been installed on the computer, and he was talking about data that they had found and emails that they had found. Now, one specific issue that was brought up in the case was that Josh had installed this partition, and the partition was installed because it would be able to get around Covenant Eyes. So on his work computer, he had the program Covenant Eyes installed on the computer. And to get around that, to specifically look at content that was not, marked at whatever level he wasn't supposed to look at, he put the partition on the computer. And then it was also a way so that his accountability partner wouldn't find out about what he was looking at. Well, something interesting I noticed, and this might not have been noticed by other people, I just noticed this as someone who knows kind of how the Duggars work and how the Duggars operate and just how deceptive Josh can be. During testimony on December 3rd with William Fottrell, they talked about Covenant Eyes. And they talked about an email that had been received from Covenant Eyes, and it was supposed to be going to Anna. But check this out. Looking at the first page here, Mr. Fottrell, and this is Mr. Clayman, who's the attorney. When was this email sent? There's an email that's dated Saturday, the 22nd of April, 2017. And what email account was it sent to? It was sent to, well, it lists the name Anna Duggar, but the associated account is joshua.duggar@icloud.com. We'll get there in a second. Who is the mail from? William says, it's from Covenant Eyes. It lists the address report@covenanteyes.com. In the body of the email, what does it say this is exactly? It says accountability report. And who is the user identified? He says Joshua Duggar. And what does it say that the sensitivity level is set at? He says the sensitivity level is set at mature teen. And he says, go back 1 second. What time frame does it say that this accountability report covers? And it says it covers the period from April 15th through April 22nd of 2017 and lists the filter as mature teen. So now turning to page 2, what does it say at the bottom of the page right underneath this red bar? So it says that under the red bar it says web searches. And then it says web searches from Joshua showing searches rated MT mature teen. And so it lists a Google search. And if you look at the very bottom, it says that the user went to Google and typed in the phrase download torrent Mac. And the software said that's rated M. And it would not allow that to occur. So it's just blocking that activity. So this is just a report that's showing Covenant Eyes detected that activity and prevented it from happening. And when does it say that this occurred? And he says on April 15th at 12:13 a.m. in 2017. And he says, turning to page 3, what are the additional searches here at the top? And he says, download torrent Mac. The next one is how to keep iTunes rented movies on a Mac. How to keep iTunes rented movies on a Mac. And a little further down on this page, what does it say below these 3 red bars? There's another instance for mature teen, and it's referencing the website called fmovies.se, and it says, watch Three Amigos 1987 online. And it says, viewed page on Safari, April 15th at 12:16 a.m. So this is marked as activity for review. Is that correct? And he says, yes. Turning to the next page, what activity was flagged on Google for review? And it says, on Google, the person typed the Google search, download torrent Mac. It lists the website and what happened on April 15th at 12:13. Right below that, the same thing, Google torrent map, and then that's the entries. Finally, on page 5, what activity was flagged? Again, utorrent.com. Basically, it's showing utorrent.com download/Mac, and it's saying that the page is blocked. And then basically going to download new utorrent.com, the page is blocked. Same thing with the third party, download new uTorrent, blocked because it was rated M for mature. Do you know what would be able to do if you go to utorrent.com downloads? And he said you'd be able to download the program for whatever operating system you're running, the Macintosh or whatever version. And that's one way of getting the uTorrent software, is getting it from the vendor's website. So the user of the MacBook was trying to download uTorrent. Is that fair to say? And he says yes. And that's on top of having qubit torrent and transmission already on the MacBook at some point. And he says yes. They also talk about this in the email, and it says, what is this exhibit? And he says, this is the same type of email, and it's a different date and time. And now we're looking at the time period from May 6th through May 13th of May 2017. And we're going to see similar entries. And the activity for review says it's showing activity for review, and it's listing Instagram. So clearly there were some things associated with Instagram, and it was rating that it was mature teen. And it said if you could turn to page 4, what activity was marked for review and blocked right in the middle of that page. And he says it's from May 9th, and it's uTorrent download Mac. And again, that page was being blocked. So someone was trying to download uTorrent again on the MacBook. Yes. In the beginning of that, when I was talking about who the program was listed to, who the accountability partner was, and what the email address was, it's interesting because it says that the emails were going to Anna Duggar, but they actually were going to Josh Duggar's iCloud account. So Josh Duggar's personal iCloud account was the one that was being used to send accountability reports to Anna. I'm assuming because in this actual testimony, we also find out that Anna's email address is different. And so at some point, I don't know if it was always set up this way or not, but Josh was having the reports of what he was doing and what Covenant Eyes was catching sent to him and not to Anna. Unless Anna had access to his iCloud email, he was having the accountability emails sent to him, bypassing Anna. Does anyone else think that's weird? I don't, and here's why. In the IBLP, if Anna is his accountability partner, there's really next to nothing that she can do because it's her husband. And she is told that she must submit, obey, and respect her husband. And if her husband does something and he isn't honest about it, she's going to question him, but she can't really push too far because men aren't supposed to lie. And so she's also supposed to submit to his authority and not step out from the umbrella of authority. Therefore, if Josh was going to take steps to deceive her, he very well could have made sure that when the Covenant Eyes app was set up, that it wasn't being sent to Anna, but it was being sent to himself. Thus, Anna would have had no clue what he was doing on his MacBook in the time that this was happening. So for people that are saying that Anna had an idea of what Josh was up to, I truly feel like not only did he set this up so that Anna wasn't getting the emails from Covenant Eyes, but I also think that the Covenant Eyes, the partition, was to get around Covenant Eyes, but it was also, he was already getting around Anna, and he knew he was getting around Anna, which is why he was using, in my opinion, the Tor network on the same day that authorities came to his work. So on the very day that HSI shows up to search his car lot, Josh Duggar, via the Tor web browsing history on his phone, was accessing websites that was viewing online content containing adults. And he was looking at very, 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 very fringe content. I'm not going to go into specifics, but it was not your average adult content. Very graphic. So he's looking at this content on his Tor browser, and he was doing this outside knowing that Covenant Eyes was on his phone. But knowing that the emails aren't going to Anna and they're going to him, he doesn't even have to lie to her because she might not even be seeing what he's doing. And she might be none the wiser about not getting the emails. Or he could be forwarding her emails or bypassing and deleting emails so that she doesn't see what he's doing. While it seems like they're trying to get around Anna, to me it seems more like he's trying to get around Covenant Eyes. He doesn't want to be blocked. He knows that this has to be on his computer, probably as a condition, since he was sent away to the Reformers Unanimous and he promised he was going to get over his problem with adult content. So he wanted to still be able to look at the content, but he didn't want to have to deal with Covenant Eyes. He obviously didn't want Anna to know, but it sounds like he was already taking steps to prevent Anna from knowing anything. Which makes me wonder, what did Anna know at all? And then once she sat through this evidence and finds out that Josh was not emailing her the accountability reports and they're instead going to Josh, how do you stand by a husband that is so utterly deceptive at every stretch of the imagination? Like at every single place you can go, he finds another way to lie to her. Her name is brought up so much at trial. If I were the wife, I would feel a sense of shame and embarrassment to know that my husband was involved in such egregious and horrific actions. I would not want anything to do with a husband that was involved in such atrocious behavior. And I certainly wouldn't want to be with a man that was so deceptive that even sending a simple email to let them know that I'm trying to download a blocked page is sent to him instead of me. There was never a sense of, there's no basis of truth in this relationship. There's no foundation of equality here. Josh was never being honest with Anna, and Anna sat through that entire testimony. And she listened to all of this horrific content, and she still stood by him. And it's really, really, really sad, because as I'm reading through this, there's absolutely no way in my brain that there's anyone else but Josh. It's so overwhelming. 8 volumes of evidence against him, 8 volumes of detailed forensics against Josh, and she chooses to believe that he was set up. Now, in another video, we're going to go into the depravity of the Duggars actually trying to set up a family friend to get Josh off the hook, and how the judge actually intervened and stopped that from happening. Tell me what your thoughts are in the comments below. Bye, guys.